What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Work Knife Balance. We're going to be looking at two different Kizers that we got in our unboxing the other day. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. There's a couple knives to go along with these that came in. But before we get too far into this, I want to go ahead and say thank you to anybody who's already liked and subscribed to our channel. If you haven't, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below, or you can hit the little logo in the corner. Also, head over to Instagram and you can like us at WorkKnifeBalance939. It's a great way to communicate with us. And if you send us a knife for a review, we'll send you back one of these sweet stickers, along with some other swag just to say thank you. So we're going to be diving in a little bit deeper to the Kizer Doberman and the Huntsman, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the Huntsman here real quick. I've had this for a couple days now, and I've been able to take a look at it, get a little bit more intimate with this knife. Nothing crazy, just kind of trying to take a look at the details on it. I don't know why I said it that way. That was foolish and ridiculous, but there's some really cool things I like about this knife. And one of the really cool things I love about the Pass Around group is I probably never would have originally purchased this knife, but I was able to take a look at it in a little bit more closer detail, and I really like this knife, and this is definitely going to be one that I highly recommend, and probably eventually want to one day get one of my own. Although these aren't available hardly anywhere right now, so I've looked on a couple different websites and I could not find them. I still will put a link to it below, so if you want to go ahead and follow and try and find them, by all means get your own. They do go for about $190 to $250 depending on what time of year and what website you get it from. So I'll go ahead and put that link below and you can check it out. But let's go ahead and look at the knife a little bit closer here. One of the first things that you can kind of see there is it's a titanium frame lock, or kind of a bolster lock with this carbon fiber. I really love what Kizer did with the carbon fiber here. It is an inlay and it has a seamless transition all the way around on this show side here, and even on the clip side, on the back side over here. So there's nothing sticking up, there's no gaps, there's no holes or anything like that. It is very well done. And then this pivot right here is actually a mirrored pivot. So if you look very carefully, you can see the little black box of my camera and my microphone right there from when I do some lives, and they kind of shine off in that right there. I thought that was just kind of a cool little addition that they did, and they kind of mirrored that edge there, which was pretty cool. There's a really nice, really nice backspacer on this. You can see some amazing jimping through that backspacer, and it comes up really high. The other thing that's fantastic about this knife is just that show side. It is so clean and so simple. It looks absolutely elegant and fantastic, and just some of the knife design on this, some of the angles that you see are pretty epic. So you do have a thumb stud opening. You also have a little bit of a fuller with kind of those speed holes on the backside there that you can get behind and reverse flick out if that is your thing. The ergos on this knife are through the roof amazing. It was one thing that I was a little concerned about, but after getting it in hand, it is perfect. It feels so good, fits my hand amazingly. And I do have a large hand. I wear size large gloves, so I don't have a large hand, I have a regular hand, but I wear size large gloves, and I've got no complaints whatsoever. Both front and reverse grip feel really good. Looking at this blade profile here though, there's some really cool things about this blade profile that you can see. This recurve is not necessarily my favorite, but it looks really good on this knife, and it has a really good clip point coming off the edge right here. Speaking of the blade, we're sitting on S35 VN steel, which I like because it's a little bit of an upgrade from the 14C28 or 154 CM that we typically see. Not quite up there with M390L Max and Vanix and all these crazy super steels or anything like that that are out there, but it gives you a really good steel that's a little bit better, still in that premium category, but not quite something that's done every day, not something that we see as often as a lot of these others out there. So yeah, with that, you do have a higher price. I think we already talked about it. You get about a $190 to $250 depending on what time of year and where you go on it. But yeah, go ahead and do some side-by-side comparisons. I'll set the Doberman off screen real quick as we do some side-by-side comparisons for this one. So we are changing up our side-by-side comparison knives just out of some review kind of feedback that we got from y'all. You said, hey, don't use the same 4 knives that everyone else uses. So I am changing up the knives that I use. Still going to stick with the pair of 3. So that'll be the first one that we put up top here because it is a knife that I carry frequently and really like. I'm going to keep that one in there. But we're also going to pull another smaller to medium knife in here with the Civivi Elementum. This is the Ultim button lock version of the Elementum. but it is the same stats as pretty much any Elementum out there that you'd see. So it gives you a good side-by-side comparison to look at those right there. So you can kind of see it is bigger than both of those knives, which is no surprise because it is a big knife. But we do have another large knife to compare it to, and that is going to be kind of a tried and true that a lot of you probably have in your collection as well. Is going to be a large Sebenza, or if you don't, you probably have one of the cool copycats or similars out there, like the Land 911, which is a pretty close comparison to that. So there you go. You've got a good, nice, large size knife to compare it to, and you can see that is a really close size length comparison, not necessarily a blade comparison or handle comparison or anything like that, but definitely in length. We'll go ahead and measure it as well. From tip to tail, we are looking at about 8.75 on the length, and then the blade is 4 inches with a 4-inch cutting edge too. So one thing I did notice is there's not really a sharpening choil at all on this knife. You do have a little bit back here where you can have some space to sharpen, but there's not really a sharpening choil built into this knife. You don't need one for choke-up reasons because the way that the knife fits in here and really good on your hand. But yeah, just gives you more of a cutting edge, which is really cool. And honestly, I don't know many recurves that I can think of that have a sharpening choil just because of the way the blade comes in like that. It's probably not something that is common. Not too much else to say about the Huntsman, so I'm going to go ahead and set this to the side and we can dive into the Doberman. This is one of the Kizers that I was looking at that I was really excited about. It is a very clean, classic, simple knife from the looks of the outside, and I love that it has both the flipper and the thumb stud for deployment methods. From this angle right here, I thought this was going to be one of my favorite knives. Then you go ahead and open it up and I was like, ooh, that's a big boy. That's kind of cool. I'm curious why they called it the Doberman. It doesn't look like a Doberman dog to me, but who knows? But I really, really love that action. You can see how absolutely snappy that is, especially off that back flipper there. And it is kind of a really small, not hidden, but a small flipper off the back edge that could easily be missed and could have easily totally screwed up the detent, but it is dialed perfectly for that flipper and the thumb stud, which is pretty cool. My only little comment on this is when you, because this is a liner lock, when you go to actuate the liner here, you'll push this in, and if your thumb is not further down on the liner, if it's up here where most people are going to have it, the blade hits your thumb, and you can't do that drop unless you have to pull your thumb back like that. So to me, that would have been kind of just one thing I would have looked at a little bit differently, maybe given you a different action or whatnot. And it's because you have this little back flipper on the back side there. That back flipper comes in and then hits it right here. So if you get rid of the flipper, you're able to just have a thumb stud. That wouldn't be there and you'd have it, but by having that flipper, you hit your thumb. And I ran into the same thing on a knife that I designed a while ago, so I totally understand that and get it, but I do think it is worth that kind of little move your thumb out of the way to have the flipper, because that flipper is so fun and satisfying to go through. So now the Doberman knife itself. We are sitting on 154 cm steel. It is a beautiful knife. You just got the G10, contoured G10 handles here. You do have a really nice pocket clip on the backside over here. I believe it's just an aluminum clip. And then it is an ambidextrous, I believe. I think you can flip it over to this side right here and use it on that side over there. You have a little bit of a back spacer coming through here as well. So you've got a little bit of a, I think it's a G10 back spacer because it doesn't feel, it might be aluminum. Aluminum, yeah. So it is an aluminum backspacer, and then you have a little bit of a lanyard spot right there. If you wanted to, for any reason, put a lanyard in there, you could put that in there as well. So you've got a really cool kind of drop point-ish blade. I mean, the blade style to me is, I mean, it's not a true drop point, I guess. I mean, it is a drop point, but it's not a drop point because it kind of curves up to itself like that a little bit. But yeah, it's a drop point with kind of like a high nose. I would say like a high nose drop point in itself, and it's actually really nice, and I like it. It's been very slicey. I love this right here. So you have some really solid jimping on that top spine right there, and it's really nice to get in here for any sort of detail work or fine work. You can hold a pinch grip really nice on it, but this right here is kind of what that's designed for, and it's really nice to get in there if you need to do any sort of work that way. Super slicey blade as it comes through. Go ahead and do some side-by-side comparisons. Set the Huntsman off real quick, and then the same three that we just had we'll pull out real quick. So we've got the Para 3, we've got the Elementum button lock right here, kind of showing you those. The Doberman as well is going to be a big knife in itself. It's going to be a little bit larger. It's not quite as big as the Huntsman. I think the Huntsman's a little bit larger, but the Doberman itself is a big knife too. So definitely bigger than both of those, which are going to be great EDC sizes. And then we'll go ahead and put the Sebenza, the large Sebenza, out there, and it is really close once again in size to that Sebenza, which kind of just goes to show it is a large knife. So if you have a Sebenza, or if you have any of those knives, you got a good idea of what you could be walking into. Measurements that we pull right off it from tip to tail, we're looking at about 8.6 on the overall length, and then about a 3.6 on the blade length, with about a 3.65, or sorry, 3.55 on the cutting edge there. So you do have a slightly smaller blade on this one than the Huntsman, and a slightly smaller overall scale. Looking at them side by side, both the Huntsman and the Doberman, you can see that there is a little bit more to the Huntsman, but not much. And I think it's where that tip kind of comes up, and this one just points out. So there's where you have a little bit more on the Huntsman versus the Doberman right there. But yeah, between these two, the Doberman is a little bit less expensive, so this one drops down to about $100 on average. Right now they're on sale for $75, which is pretty sweet. Which is nice to see, because you do have the G10 versus the titanium. It is a frame lock, or sorry, it is a liner lock and not a frame lock, and it is 154 cm steel. So you've got really good steel, but not that S35VN premium steel or anything like that. So we will go ahead and put links to both of these down below, so you can check them out for yourself, see if there's something you want to buy, if they're available. If they're Amazon links, they support our channel. If they're not, they're just for fun and for you to check out the knife. By all means, go ahead and check out those knives and get one for yourself. I highly recommend both of these knives. I think they are fantastic. I will be passing these on in the group, so you'll see a couple other videos with them out there. But enough of that. Until next time, TTFN. See you guys later.